All right, all really big off-season war here because we're bringing in our newly pulled, awakened, and rank forward Absorbing Man. Shout out to DLL. It is his champion he first created. Brought in Valkyrie as well, and I brought in Immortal Abomination. That is for the poison immunity synergy for Absorbing Man. So Path 9 in Section 1 here, we're immune to Incinerate and Poison. We're in Magma form. That's the pre-fight we placed. What that means is anytime we trigger any of these node debuffs from Hazard Shift, it's going to pause our form, which is going to make it really easy to get back to Special 2 to refine it. And instead of retaliating either a special attack or a heavy with a heavy attack and then going into the Special 2, we are just going to take the lower crit rating Special 2 because it's not even going to be a big deal. Did not practice against Sorcerer Supreme to see if there was any reach after either special attack with the heavy attack. Just went straight into this fight to just kind of show how kind of brain dead it is, especially with the Immortal Abomination synergy. So Sorcerer Supreme goes down easy. Mephisto is next. Now, you know, knowing about his heavy, it should be pretty easy to actually heavy counter it. But again, I did not practice going in, so we're still going to parry heavy into Special 2 here. Really the benefit of hitting him with the heavy without stunning him is going to be a larger crit rating and therefore a bigger burst damage on our Special 2 when we're refined and while there are any vulnerabilities on Mephisto. And something I wanted to point out, that Indestructible disappeared really quick. That's just built into Absorbing Man's kit with Unblockable and Unstoppable and Indestructible. So there's our first Special 2. The Incinerates are really short, so I'm not actually worried about them giving Mephisto power. And he's just going down nice and easy. We're just pausing this Magma form. We're refined here now. There's nothing in this fight that's really going to cause us to build charges really quickly, like Armor Break. So it's really just build the Special 2, land the heavy, throw the Special 2, finish the fight. And yeah, that's pretty much it. We get 2 Special 2s in, does a lot of damage. We're refined here, so the burst damage is pretty big. And yeah, he's about done here. The next combo is going to do it. Next hit. So, Magma form in Showcase. We move on to our only Uru form fight, this Maw here on 26. There is a lot here, and what I had wished is that I had practiced retaliating heavy attacks here, because it would have been huge. Or I wish I had remembered the refined ability where if we cause any ability power gain while we're blocking, we actually steal 72% of it. So there's a cheese here with Conflictor. Once we get this Uru form refined, we could have actually triggered Conflictor intentionally with a parry stun, and we would have gotten 75% of the power gain, and he would have only gotten the remaining 18%. So I actually accidentally do it once while I'm refined. We got refined there. We're actually going to run out of this form. There was the Conflictor. You notice Maw didn't jump straight to Special 2. He actually gained a little bit. Now I have power. But why I wish I had practiced the heavy, it would have allowed me to avoid having to deal with the falter and really just lay into Maw and take advantage of the refined form of Uru. Instead, we end up losing our refined form here and then having to re-trigger it off and unblockable, or not off and unblockable, just right away. And it makes this fight a lot slower and a lot more complicated. But I'm going to refine the form here by doing the medium light medium that put vulnerability on Maw. That means all my burst damage is going to do a lot more in this form, the physical burst damage, while in Uru. But yeah, definitely probably still an option here. See there, I tried the heavy. I was too far out of range. And the falter just kept popping up and ruin. If I had consistently practiced, and there's the burst damage through block. So one of the refined benefits of the Uru form. Now, Valkyrie I actually brought for Section 2, Path 9. It's because I felt like with the planetary endurance global, Absorbing Man wouldn't be too great. And this would be a good time to showcase Valkyrie. Now, This guy had suicides, which meant I had to go the difficult route of actually hitting Moleman in order to get my first Pierce buff. If he didn't have suicides, I would have been able to focus on just hitting his block and get my first Pierce buff and then never have to worry about the unstoppable at all. But once I get this first Pierce buff here, now I can go ahead and just start hitting into Moleman's block, and the node is non-existent. We don't care about one eye open. We don't care about the hazard shift because all of it is going to be block damage. We ignore the unstoppables, so we never really get counter attacked here, at least from that. So yeah, it's just your normal Valkyrie fight. I did invert the combo once when I had the opening, and then here into the special 2 I inverted again. And if you haven't watched any of my other Valkyrie videos, I'm really inverting the combo around the 10 mark. I like to flirt with. Because that Fury from the special 2 is going to increase my attack rating for each of those buffs that I get there from crossing a 10 on the combo meter for either Pierce or Bulwark. So more damage on the special 2. There are a few times we accidentally intercept him, not a big deal, we just kind of lay off. And now that we are 3 Pierce buffs, we are now doing that instant bleed through block. So yeah, this is pretty much the fight. He is planetary endurance, but if you hit into the global's block, it removes those buffs. So we don't have to worry about combat power here at all. And down goes Moleman. So exact same thing I'm going to do for Sersi. However, we don't have to worry about an unstoppable. So we can start off right away just hitting into her block to manipulate our combo and do our damage. The glancing, I think, did not affect it. It's not supposed to affect the combo meter. However, I think it can affect the buffs. We're going to check it out here in a minute. So there's my combo meter going up, but the glancing is gone. So yeah, glancing definitely affected the combo meter. So it can be a bit trickier or just takes a bit longer here with Valkyrie. But still, again, pretty safe. She's planetary endurance, so if we ever actually hit her, or sorry, if we ever take a blocked hit, we can easily get rid of the buffs so we don't have to worry about combat power, especially since we're not ever actually making contact with them. And here, since we are strictly into block, until we get to special 2, I'm not going to invert the combo. I'm just going to keep building the Pierce buff, and then when I'm ready for a special 2, that's when I'm going to invert the combo and then drop the special 2. I'm obviously going to make sure I drop that special 2 when glancing is not up. And she's pretty much gone due to the poison that was on her. So, looks easier than it actually was. Move on. I should have just taken this Domino with Immortal Abomination, but I chose to just mess around with Valkyrie here. She can do the fight. She has a passive power gain from hitting into block, but this Domino had suicide, so that poison is actually going to give us power the entire fight. And just from the crit failure, I end up losing a bit of health, which kind of hurts me for the next fight. But I'm sure Immortal Abomination can get away with doing this fight with the poisons. Even if RNG is not on his side, it'll eventually work out as long as I don't ever parry. One thing that is nice is that when I do get that first Bulwark buff, I actually become stun immune. So I can try to parry the node, at least to reduce damage on block. But yeah, that poison there definitely made this a lot easier to do because we didn't have to do anything to gain power. There I invert the combo, throw the special 2, there's our first buff. And I believe we never gain another buff here. Crit failure actually kicks in so much that we only stay at 1 of each buff for the rest of the fight. But this was not that annoying, to be honest. It was pretty chill. The only annoying part of it is that crit failure still kicks in. But at least she was kind of killing herself with suicides. Crit failure failing the Fury there on that special 2. Unfortunate. Looking like we're going to get cornered. She finally goes passive. We have another special 2 ready. We don't invert the combo. again, made the Fury fail, made a buff fail, we crossed 10. So Domino doing Domino things. And there's an accidental parry, but we're immune to stun. So I think Valkyrie is definitely going to stand out as a good counter to Planetary Endurance this season, especially if you've got a comfortable and confident player. I decide to go ahead and use her against Spam here. Now, for this fight, since it has Brute Force, it makes this complicated. It means that we have to every so often bait out a heavy or intercept or even stun and land an attack so we can get rid of Brute Force. I'm actually going to alternate quite often from hitting his block to hitting him. And here we can't really get to special 2, otherwise Spam is going to start building nonsense and evading. So the game plan here was to throw special 1 immediately, bait out his special 1. If he's being stubborn about special 1, we're going to pause, bait out a heavy, and then retaliate that to get rid of Brute Force or reset the timer. And just basically rinse and repeat that. And I believe I get the Spam down to about 5%, and I get an unfortunate step back and combo, and I think it takes like 2 hits. But you can see here it's getting kind of close, kind of risky. Wouldn't be the matchup I choose. This is me kind of flexing just so that I can get my attempt at the boss. But yeah, we've seen Spam here before. There are plenty of counters. It's no reason to flex a Valkyrie here. This is me just kind of playing around. Inverting the combo properly, though. Looks like we've got 3 of each buff, so we're at max buffs here. Not actually that big of a deal, though, since we're not going to be throwing a special 2 to get a big Fury. You see that we've kept the nonsense down. We haven't dealt with evading or unblockable, and it's because we're throwing special 1 as soon as we get it, whether that be at him or at his block. So we actually have a benefit here that if he turtles and we need to throw the special 1, we have an evade right after throwing it if we throw it into his block. And there's the unfortunate step back. So could have finished that fight, but instead we go in, finish it with Immortal Abomination, so we actually got a fight. And that's where I think I should have just used him for Domino and saved the rest of that health that I lost on Valkyrie for this fight, and then we wouldn't be in this situation. But off-season war things, throw the special 1 right away, and then he poisons out. Now, during this war, we had a thought, especially since it's a Knull Boss, that let's leave Hazard Shift up and let's take this with Absorbing Man. So this is kind of Absorbing Man's super matchup. If the opponent places Armor Break on Absorbing Man, it builds charges like crazy. For every Armor Break, you get 90 Morph charges. And Knull on a special 2 places 10, and your max is 600. So if 10 to 9 was going to be 900, it stops at 600. Why that makes this fight so lopsided is with Hazard Shift, we pause this Magma form. We can stay in it the entire time, every time we trigger a Poison or Incinerate. And if we just push him to special 2, it means we're going to have max Morph charges ready to place onto Knull. And that's going to place the max vulnerability once we do a medium light. So there it is. It refreshes our refined Magma form, and it puts these 4 vulnerabilities, which causes all that energy burst damage from the special 2 and from our basic attacks to just go nuts. So I thought I was going to actually have to retaliate his heavy with a heavy, which I practiced, but I don't. I don't have to build morph charges that way. I don't have to get the big crit on the special 2. You can see there, just that burst damage from 8 vulnerabilities just made it amazing. So that was the off-season war. Hope you guys enjoyed it like I did. Hit subscribe, give it a like, and I will catch you guys at the next off-season war.